of the College Call of Duty League. It was somewhat of a wait there. I'm with you. I'm a little antsy here, but we got the lobby loaded back up. My name's Cambert.
A
Mick's
little.
here with me. He's trying to tell me to just take the wave pool, let it capture me, and just stay with the vibes. I totally feel that. I need to just kind of relax a little bit. This week, it's gonna happen when it's ready, right, Mick?
Yeah. It'll hit us eventually. It hasn't hit me yet, but I'm waiting. We're here.
We're here. We're be to update you on how things are shaking out so far tonight. You just saw LC Lions with the smooth 3-0 sweep of SUNY Buffalo over on the Alpha stream. A pretty good one going down right now. It's in Game 5, E4 Knights versus Bama Crimson. And E4 Knights are up 4-3 in that one. So maybe you check out the conclusion of that before we get started here. But as soon as that one's over, you'll come right back because we have a really great matchup ahead of ourselves here on match 2 here on the Bravo stream. It's going to be LU Esports taking on BU Red, a couple teams near the mid to lower part of their split. They're going to be vouching for a spot in that top 7 or so that they can get a better seeding for the qualifier when it comes tournament time. But as we know, Mick, I mean, it gets to this part of the season, it starts to matter a little bit more. These players are throwing a little bit more into their gameplay here. They realize that there's a lot more at stake.
I mean, I do want to say, obviously, it does start to matter a little more at this point. I mean, the matches always matter, but at this point in the season, this is where things start getting cutthroat. I mean, this is where, guys are sitting there. This is when push comes to shove. This is where guys are sitting there trying to shove each other off the cliff, get them out of the bracket, make sure they're not going to be concerned later on down the road. And looking at this matchup today, no matter which guy loses, which guy wins, they both are in really good standings and have more than enough potential to come back later in the season and find a way to maintain a spot. And we may see this exact matchup again at some point, which would be awesome to see a little bad blood, around the roots. But when we're looking at both these teams, we got BU Red, LU Esports. We got a BUs, LUs. Hopefully neither one of these guys stink because I don't want to be calling either one of you PU because that's a little bit too easy of a joke for me. But all in all, I don't think it's going to come around to that when we're looking at all these guys so far. I'm seeing great stats across the board when it comes to all these players. I'm seeing lots of stats. I'm seeing lots of kind of back and forth. I'm seeing a lot of potential on an individual kind of pace when it comes to each player's kind of efforts that they can bring to the table and what exactly they can make happen, or to kind of pull out a clutch play, or just overall have some kind of huge influence on the game overall. And I'm super excited to see what can be pulled out.
Absolutely. I mentioned the standings and the way things look right now. You got LU in that 8th spot, so they're in a good position to get a better seeding come the tournament time. BU, they're down there at 10th, so they're the team that's trying to make something happen here tonight. They're somewhat of the underdogs, and it would be Raid Hardpoint where we go first to the hills of Hollywood for
Yes,
this first
sir.
match. And it's been in the game for 7 years now. They continue to bring them back. They're adding more DLC maps next week, which I'm sure if you're anything like me, you're excited about, Mick. But right
Yes,
now, we got
sir.
Raid to deal with. It's got to be everybody's. It's a fan favorite. What are you expecting out of this first match?
I'm expecting these teams to, with the place they're already sitting at. I mean, as much as I would love to see a lot of intelligent plays coming through, a lot of good rotations, and seeing these guys trying to manipulate the field to their advantage and getting a lot of cutoffs and just splitting the map as best as possible, I'm expecting we're going to see these guys just duke it out. I'm expecting both teams to just rush the living stew out of P1, get as many kills as possible, hold it off, and then they sit there. And after the winner's decided, that's when they start playing these rotations and, cutting their losses and going ahead to P2. My whole deal with Hardpoint is it's really what it comes down to. That's why, at Control, there's a kind of there's a sense of where you need to hold on to your life. And Search, there's a point to where you only have one life, so you're always a little bit worried. But in Hardpoint, I just feel like so many guys, this is where they get to have their fun. This is almost like a warm-up in a sense, in my opinion, with how guys can just run in, get kills, do whatever they need to, and get the job done.
Absolutely. It's definitely a game mode that most players are comfortable with. And I mean, maybe a conversation for well, actually, right now, as we get a draw, we're going to set this one back. And I mean, we talk about how there's so much on the line here as we start to get into the second split towards the playoffs. What exactly changes in your opinion? Is it the communication? Is it actually just being more prepared for the match and more focused in general? You drinking more G Fuel? Like, what changes in terms of preparation and what goes into the game once it starts to get more serious?
That's actually a good question. And, I could sit there and talk about it all day because I love coaching and helping out teams as much as possible and trying to give them my kind of input on what could help them from, seeing all these high tier players and, watching them go back and forth and duke it out. I think communication really is key. There's so much to where you naturally as a player, you're constantly working to be mechanically better, carry your own weight, find a way to, establish yourself as a player in the game and, make sure you don't die. That's always the utmost kind of goal that everybody has on a one-dimensional plane when it comes to COD. But when you really break it down and when you're playing with the team and you're worried about coordination, that's what really has to grow over the course of the season. You guys need to make sure that y'all know exactly to where you can link up with each other without even having to say a word. Because I know how it is in those headsets. I know how it is to be behind those controllers. Sit there and say, you got 30 mouths just blabbing at you 24/7 and you can't exactly comprehend all that at the same time. So just being able to have that spatial awareness, not only with your team, but in game, knowing the kill feed, knowing where those guys are, where your teammates are. And when you see a clip, you know exactly what area is going to be free, what area isn't. So you can play around that better. And if your team has to come across and actually say something, you hold that with utmost priority and importance because of how serious it is.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Not only is it about communicating, but it's about having clear and concise comms so everybody can kind of hear the important ones in the mix of what can oftentimes be a pretty hectic Discord channel. Oftentimes when players are calling out, as we jump right into this match. How about LU Esports? They're coming out of the gates with 18 points on this first hill. We talk about this one can be pretty scrappy. The rotation to kitchen, often very important. How about K2 with the QBZ? You got K1 and K2, and you made the mention of these guys split screening. It's a possibility. Maybe they're sharing the same console. They're twins, so you have to think the twin telepathy could play a major role in this one. And how about this squad grabbing the first 30 seconds? They potentially getting this last 10 as well. But the rotation to P2 is going to be in favor of BU Red. Maybe their chance to come back.
Yeah, and that's it round out exactly how I called it overall. I sat there, said that these guys are going to duke it out on P1, and whoever the loser is, they're going to go ahead and start rotating. And we see those guys already set up on P2, getting those rotations in and being set up in that kitchen, which is going to be BU Red. Sadly, they get shut down fairly quickly, only grabbing about 6 seconds on that time overall, and they can't exactly carry that mentality around to this next point because, you don't want to establish and let them get way too ahead of you because at that point, there's no chance of coming back. So right now, BU Red needs to find a way to find some kind of flank, some kind of avenue to play as a team and get on these sites because right now, we just see the likes of LU Esports absolutely clinging up. K2 on a 9 streak right now. Have to point that out because he is just absolutely a one-man army, as we said.
Make it 10. He's got the score streaks in his pocket. He'll be ready to use those at some point in this game. And BU are already falling way behind in this one. K2 ahead on the rotations, trying to pick up his 12th straight kill, but he's going to fall on the backside. So another situation here where BU have the rotations, but can they get a better hold? They had it for Kitchen, but it was a solid break out of LU Esports that made it really not matter. Finally, though, you start to see some time go in favor of your squad. If you're BU Red, you got one player holding it down while the rest of the players push out to try to hold down control at this point. Here comes the push through weights. It's not going to matter. K2 has the gunny, as we know. 12-1 to this point. His teammates there in support, and it's Obito finding another. They're going to get another clean break here.
Oh, I'm loving what I'm seeing right here. I love that little push right there. I love how collective it was. BU Red exactly wasn't set up for it as you expected because so many guys are going to run through the gym right there and you have to be ready for that. You can't have one man allocated right there. You need to get your full team down. You need to be prepared for that because that's where all that force is going to be coming from. And if you're not able to sit there and take the full hit and find a way to retaliate with it, it's going to be an easy take by LU Esports, which they're already showing to just do a great job of doing overall. But we see BU Red finally trying to make some kind of push and, shift the momentum in their favor because we do see guys spread out a little bit, but Records is going to have to wait right here because the rest of these guys seem to be possibly slacking when it comes to these rotations because, the spawns in this kind of area and section of the game, they're so influential with them being on two opposite sides of the maps.
The cross-map run from garage to basketball court as the team tries to push through kitchen. They find one with Kool-Aid in the back. It's K2 who falls as well. Cool tucks with a two-piece, trying to open this thing up for his squad as he funnels on through the backside. The third is going to be Doomy, who finds two of his own, but Records there for the trade. This looks like an opportunity to break for BU as they try to make their way back into this game. 25 seconds on this hill remaining as the contest takes place. Records with another. There on the hill is going to be able to get his team this final 20 seconds. They keep fighting for this scrap time. K2's not willing to give it up just yet. How about K2 out the gates? 15-4, make it 16 now. This QBZ is red hot.
Yeah, his barrel's definitely heated up, and so is he because goodness gracious, this dude's just a force to be reckoned with right now. I mean, looking across the board, all these guys are sitting there. They have great stat lines. They're all either positive or they're running 6-9. And I'm not gonna say anything just exactly, but overall, I mean, there's nowhere really that's being slacking on the side of LU Esports right now. You can see that overall they are very cool, calm, and collected, and you don't have any guys who are really slacking behind too much. We do see on the side of BU Red right now, Chugs and Kool-Aid could step it up a little bit because Records right now and Cool Tux, I mean, they're trying as best they can right now, but overall they got to step it up because when you're looking at the stamina sequence when it comes to these guys on individual effort, you can't burn one out too much because, I mean, you got a couple more games to play after this one.
Might need to trade that Kool-Aid for some G Fuel as this lead continues to extend for LU. It's not looking good if you're BU right now. Have to change something quickly here. And you have to watch your back because K2 is in behind. He almost gets the third under Records, but he finally goes down. 22-5 as we keep track of his ridiculous start to this series. Already on the next point as we get our next set of rotations is LU. They're trying to close this one out quickly. And it's Records who's trying to do whatever he can for his team to keep him in this one. 15-4, the only player going positive as he throws down the shots from Top Laundry. His QBZ trying to match up with that of K2, but so far, not enough. Finally, his team able to get some time on this point. It's going to be a difficult rotation over to Kitchen. You have to think LU are willing to chalk that 30 seconds. They get the spawns deep, though. They're going to have to run through the hill anyway. So Obito says, might as well grab it. And I don't know. We are going to see one more rotation, but I don't know if we have anything more than that.
Yeah, I'm on the same exact page as you with how these guys are setting up right now, with how strong and dominant of a force they are overall. I mean, it just looks like from the get-go, I mean, you have to pray in the shoes of B-Red right now, hoping that these guys are going to slack up when it comes to Search and Destroy, to where they actually do play it a little more scared because they don't have as many lives to work with. But look at K2 right now. I mean, if you got six deaths, say that's 1 death per round in terms of Search. This guy could beat you in 4 whole rounds, 1v4s. I mean, it's just insane to look at. So, I mean, right now, you need to sit there and find a way to get these rotations in. Find a kind of whole momentum that works for yourself. Find something that counteracts these dudes and lock up your back because K2's always going to be there waiting because we always see him going for these flanks and being super successful on that note.
Yeah, you have to think LU is already starting to think about map 2 at this point. 3 more seconds left. Nobody's going to be there to contest, and it's a commanding performance out of the gate for Laurentian University. 250-69. Brock goes down in map 1. We'll head to checkmate for map 2, but as we break this one down, I think the key player has to be Kilgannon2 for the side of LU.
Yeah, and I'm on the same exact page as you, but I feel like everybody still kind of held their own weight in terms of coming to that game. I mean, we didn't exactly see too many of these LU players slipping up by any means necessary. They were even there for trades. They were letting those initial guys take in that push initially, get all those kills. And if they ever did, by chance, fall down, I mean, you had another man there to pick them right back up and carry it where he left off. And I mean, once you sit there and slay most of the team, you're not going to get as many kills because they're all spawning elsewhere. So overall, I mean, when you're looking at the likes of going into this whole next match, I mean, I'm just really trying to consider mostly right now. I mean, with that being in the past, that's what BU Red's thinking right now. We need to put that behind us because that wasn't pretty. So what we need to do is figure out a way of how going into Search and Destroy, can we find a momentum that shifts in our way? How can we slow down these guys? Because goodness gracious, I mean, that was quick. Super, super quick.
Laurentian get it done, and they don't waste a lot of time doing it. They go up 1-0. Now we turn our attention to checkmate, Search and Destroy. It's definitely one of the better game maps, I would say, for this game mode. And you're right, it's going to slow down a little bit. Sure, Laurentian came out with the firepower. K2 was triple positive. That's all great. But now you have to start to use your brain a little bit more as we get into Search and Destroy. You only have 1 life per round. Can't be throwing that away. Strategy comes into it a lot more here. And luckily, it's not going to be Garrison Search and Destroy. Can't wait for that map to be thrown to the Wolves. It's been all 3 O's for me in these past couple weeks. I'd like to see a team force it into map 4, force it into map 5. What does BU have to do here if they want to make that happen?
Oh, man. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. When we're looking at the map set right now, we got checkmate coming up next. I mean, it's not pretty. I'm gonna be completely blunt and honest with you right now because overall, checkmate is such a gun-heavy map. It is so easy to get there and get your line of sight on your opponents. I mean, it's all right there in the open, right in front of you overall. I mean, whether or not you get playing control or you're on the floor somewhere around the deck, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. You're going to be able to see basically everybody around you. And I feel like when it comes to controlling that sensitivity and controlling those crosshairs, I mean, LU has the advantage. So, I mean, BU, they got to find somewhere. They got to find some kind of sneaky avenue. I mean, they got to go back to the black play because these guys got to start playing like rats if they want to find some picks here.
Yeah, and I mentioned how maybe it's an opportunity to play with your brain a little more, make some IQ plays. It's not always that easy in Search and Destroy right now with those smokes and those snipers. There's not a whole lot of
Yeah.
space on the map to make something happen. Checkmate, another one where we're probably going to see some slow, drawn out rounds. Both teams kind of playing their lives, not wanting to be the first one to fall. But you make a great point. It brings your gun skill to more of a magnified location where everybody is going to be paying attention to whether or not you can hit those shots. It's going to be on full display. It's not like a hard point where you have players that are hurt and all these different scenarios that might suit you better in a gunfight or in a gun challenge.
Yeah.
You're going to have one-on-ones, probably long distance if you're an AR, or if right up in front of each other if you're a submachine gun player, full health. It's really going to test the skill of both of these teams, but you have to hope that BU can maybe pull something out here with the change of pace as we go into Search and Destroy. Talk about how much is on the line here as we get towards the playoffs and wanting to be a higher seed in your pool so that you can have the better opportunity to make a run in the playoffs. Both of these teams playing for that today, and Laurentian already up 1-0 as we already load in to Checkmate Search and Destroy. Next week, we're going to make a couple changes. We'll have Express in the mix, which I think everybody is excited about. Another classic map from Black Ops 2. So many great memories from that map. Clayster with the 2v1. You had the full sail with complexity and optic way back in the day. I was just a wee little boy back then. Now all of a sudden on the caster desk. So
Oh, wait, little lad.
a wee little lad trying to make his way in the Call of Duty scene is trying to make their way around the flank is K1. Nobody's going to pick up on the sight lines here. He's got Kool-Aid from behind. He's going to find that first kill, and now everybody's like, uh-oh, they're in behind. K2's finding a kill as well. The offense leaving some openings here, and you got LU taking advantage.
Man, I mean, we can call these guys script kiddies. With the way you see, like, K1, K2 lined up right next to each other, you know, top and bottom. They have like a little input code there for the CIS majors. But, I mean, when you really break it down, it's insane how BU read when they're supposed to be on the defense here. I mean, when you're really breaking it down, no, on the offense, excuse me, I got switched up because the bomb got dropped so quickly. When you're playing that offensive mode, I mean, we saw they took that bomb front and center where they had no men to follow that up. Whether or not they were actually covering the flank, whether or not they were going around, we see Cool Tuck over there stationed on the left. But, I mean, he didn't even get the coverage. Hey, he was to that flank. So what good does it do for you at that point when you're trying to shut down these flanks and give your man a chance to get that bomb down? And from our point of view, we saw that nobody else was up there on planes, that he had more than enough time to pull that off. But, I mean, he didn't get the chance. He didn't get any breathing room because K1 is already ready there for you. And K2, on that note, he's doing just as well this time around. With 3-0, this man could actually somehow wind up getting a streak this round or the next if he maintains this. And now, with the Search and Destroy is huge, especially on check, how large it is, allowing for you to just get those kills right there and just spot the single streak.
It was the Twins who came out hot in round one. Now all of a sudden a 1v1 situation as Cool Tux finds two. He's going to be playing defense as Doomy has the bomb, rotating it around, trying to decide where to make his next move. Maybe thinking about a plant at A, the less expected of the two bomb sites. Might have just laid eyes, though, as he's looking over at that forklift. I do think Cool Tux got the information that he needed. He's going to rotate down the A-hall. Thinking about the plant is Doomy. Trying to even things up, but he's not going to crouch. He leaves himself exposed, and Cool Tux is going to take so much advantage of that he evens this thing up at 1 apiece. The Twins in round one making the big flanks, but then BU able to answer here as they go on defense. You see it there in the kill cam. Big-time shots out of Tux to tie this one up. And, I mean, you saw one team on defense get aggressive, make some flanks. You saw the other kind of sit back there, let the fight come to them. Two different philosophies so far here out the gates. But I really think, I mean, offense is obviously the more difficult of the two sides. We'll see here if BU Red has something up their sleeve.
Yeah, I mean, need to put them back and on those small victories when you're up against the likes of Esports and getting shut down easily and hard point. I mean, you have to find a way. You need to find little rally moments for your team to say, they're not. We have more than enough room to. They're mortal. Trust. Cool Tucks in the shoes of this man. He can say, So I mean, overall, going forward, keep that in mind. That he's setting this up, finding ways because overall, I mean, playing is going to get them here. And if they can maintain that on something like checkmate, I'm going to be praising the heck out of these next couple matches.
3v2 situation as Obito hangs out by the bomb. Such a power position. You can see him there. I don't know if I'll call it snaking just yet, but just using his crouch mechanics, I guess, to his advantage. And he's got another player thinking about pushing up. He probably knows the bomb's down there as he can see it. Records right in his sight line. Gonna take the shots, but it won't matter. Big time stuff out of Records to draw this one even. 2-2 now in terms of the live. Player in the back of the plane. His teammate's going to be there for the trade. Sets up another one. But the other trade comes through as well for LU Esports. They go up 2-1 now and just trading back and forth as it got down to a 2v2 situation. We're going to see it here in the kill cam records. Big time shots onto Obito. All of a sudden, they're trading rounds here.
Yeah, for sure. You obviously want to win that trade and find a way to get the upper hand, get that man advantage going on. But when you're the likes of K1 and K2, they have, as you said earlier, that twin telepathy. The Spidey sense right there for K2 and said, hold up, my man's in trouble. So let me make the flank around. Let me get this trade out because I trust him to at least get one of those guys, and that's exactly what he did. And giving LU Esports a chance to come into this and to put themselves back on the board because that would have been ugly for them if BU Red, by any chance, continued that momentum and found a way to, you know, continue all this pressure that they're getting on Search and Destroy right now with every single breath that they have right now being on this map.
Records was on an island over there at A. K2 finds the kill, and now he's in deep by the spawn. K1, his twin brother, is also going to find a kill. All of a sudden, 2v4. Defense in a rough spot. Both players up in the top of the plane trying to watch each other's back. As here comes the push from K1. Throws down some shots to just create some confusion. He's going to back down, and the double nade is going to connect. As again, the Twins making a big impact here in Search and Destroy.
Hey, man, the Twins are here to get some wins. I think that's, I mean, that's all I'm really going to say. They are reading these guys like a book. I mean, straight up, just making sure exactly where they are. They're getting them in check. They're listening to their teammates' calls. I think that's what's helping them out is that clear and concise communication. Something makes me think they don't even need to talk to each other. They just know what's going on. That cuts up the comms a little bit more. It allows some silence. And anytime, you know, the likes of Obito or Doomy wants to say something, they hear it, they register it, and they're like a whole mainframe inside of their heads right now because it seems as if anytime there's a call or anytime there's a player to show up, they're going to write that down mentally, know exactly where they are, and know the pathing for them to go ahead and get that flank because K1's already on it this time around.
Oh my goodness. Another flank comes through from K1 this time. And at this point, if you're BU, you have to be expecting it. These guys are running around like chickens with no heads. And Esports will get the clean sweep. 4 kills down without losing any lives. They're up 1-0 in the series. Now they go up 4-1 in the Search and Destroy. And at some point, if you're Brock, you have to start to think about these guys coming around on the pinch.
Yeah, and I mean, in the situation of Brock right now, I really just don't know what I could tell them to help them out. I mean, I've already said it. I mean, did I not watch your flank? And these guys just aren't holding down these stairs at all. They keep on making a bomb push up there on the B, but I mean, you got to realize that this time around, that's not working for you, Chief. You got to find a different avenue to take to increase your chances. Because if you're getting shut down right here, I mean, I'm so happy it worked for you one round, but I mean, that's because you're on the different side of the field. You have to find a different way to approach this. You have to think differently because they have you read right now. You have to you have to give them a new book to read. Otherwise, they're just going to know exactly what happens. You can test them on it over and over again, but they're just going to get a 100 each time. I mean, you have to sit there and change things up. Throw an element of surprise in there to sit there and put them on their toes, but I'm just not finding that right now. You have a whole different bomb site. You have a whole different side of the map. It may be more open, but if you play together, you can win those trades and then make a flank towards B or something.
K1 and K2 have all the reads. It's like an open book with size 30 font right now as, again, they're cleaning up the kills in this round. Finally, K1 goes down. There goes the other in K2. Obito finding a kill to make it 1 player alive for Brock University. It's all up to Chugs here. And it's a big moment. Really could use a round win here to bring this one back. Down 4-1. The other team is going to be the ones planting the bomb as it goes down at A. Making the full wrap is Chugs here, as he hasn't laid eyes on anybody just yet. Trying to find some information for himself. Maybe making this push up the hallway at A. Holding the long angle. Hoping someone might peek. Nobody's going to be home. Has to start to speed this one up as these two players play buddy system in the back. Making sure they have each other's trade. Have the bomb checks. Creeping ahead is Chugs. He doesn't know it, but there's a player just behind that wall. Has to expect somebody to be in the tube playing the check on bomb. And with only 17 seconds left, has to make something happen soon. It's going to run out of time here. And he's just playing the slow game, waiting for somebody to challenge him rather than be the one challenging. The sensitivity's a little low there for Chugs as he tries to spin around. It doesn't matter. Another solid round at LU Esports. And this time, it didn't have to be K1 and K2 making the plays. The other players step up and they get one for themselves.
Yeah, I feel like, at that point, that's where they just use these guys like Google. I mean, they're dead. They're not playing the game. Just ask them, where's this guy at? All right, I got you. K1's coming up with the play saying, all right, he's back playing right now. Just watch that, get posted up on that bomb. We don't even need to know where he is. You just sit there, stick on that bomb right now, play as a team, play for those trades, and you'll be sitting fine and peachy when it comes to, the likes of one guy. He's most likely not going to get that double from how they've been playing earlier, and we can play off this confidence and find a way to just go ahead and topple them. So overall, at this point, we do see BU Red with another push right there up plane. Records is sitting in the back with bomb, but I'm trying to figure out what plan they got with this. I mean, they got to make the rotation, but they need a man to clear out K2 right there because he's a force not to be taken lightly.
If they get shot in the back by K1 or K2 this round, I will not forgive them. It's happened way too many times in this game to not make the adjustment, as finally a play has to start to come through. Kool-Aid still sitting on the goose egg. Could definitely use a kill out of him. So you really need to win this round. You're back against the wall. It's a closeout round for Laurentian University. 5-1 here. Nobody falling just yet. Both teams realizing just how important their lives are at this very moment. K2 creeping ahead on the bomb. Going to be the first line of defense. It's difficult to get through him. 9-2 so far in this game as his teammate Doomy draws first blood. The push has to come through now. Records and Kool-Aid in the top of the plane. Here they come. One kill there. The second is going to come as well from Obito. And it's another commanding win for Laurentian University. They win the search and destroy 6-1 after dominating the hard point. And we'll head to Garrison for map 3.
Man, Obito closing it out right there. A good play by him on the plane, getting that double kill right there. Using that Mangekyo Sharingan to send them to the alternate plane right now. Not only just those two players, but the whole team. I mean, just closing it out right there. Great play by him. Getting the lockdown that side, not only getting a man on the bomb, but getting a man back playing who sits there and has those kind of powers, those visual prowess to get those lockdowns overall. I mean, at this point, I really just don't know what to say going forward. And when we're talking and discussing about these two teams, I mean, you look at the next map we have going on, it's going to be Garrison. But I mean, it's such an upfront map, almost in a sense, just like Checkmate, just with less lanes to work. I mean, actually, no, I correct on that. In my opinion, Checkmate's just one big lane. I mean, with Garrison, you do have a little bit more leeway, but when it comes to the points, it's so hard to capture one or the other. Once you sit there and get that B side locked down, A is just so far off and so hard to get a hold of. And I mean, when you're looking at the likes of K2, he's going, even on that offense, I'm sure this man's going to find a way into the back line, getting behind you and clearing out the A side for his teammates. And I mean, and this is exactly, I mean, if that's all that BU sets up for right now, I guarantee they could probably win one. If they literally just sit there, sit and spawn and watch the A site and just leave B alone, I think they could do just fine with what they're sitting at, because then they don't have to worry about man coming from flank, post up in that back left of corner on the defense side, and then they should be sitting fine. Because I mean, only way you got is to rush in, and if you guys can win those trades at that point, just make sure you got your crosshairs in the right places. But I mean, going forward, if you're sitting there talking about, left from right and 0.1, 0.2 lives, this, that, and the other, I mean, it really doesn't matter if you're not winning these gunfights, and that's what they have to do right now.
The Twins have been strong so far in this one. Kilgannon 1 and Kilgannon 2. I don't think they're playing on the same screen, but it's a possibility at this point. The way they have this, the chemistry that they have is just unmatched so far in this series. They go up 2-0. They help their squad, Libertarian University, to that score line as we head to Garrison Control for the third map. It's Brock University trying to figure out something here to turn this one around. It's a swing map for sure. Oftentimes we see if there is going to be a map that the underdog can take, it can be Control, but I don't think Garrison is suiting too well for them. You mentioned how there's not a whole lot of room on the map. There's only about 2 lanes, if that, on Garrison. Kind of like a submachine gun player's playground with all the different hiding spots and the ways you can kind of move through mid. But I mean, if you're looking at one thing for Brock, I know it's difficult right now because it just feels like there's no momentum on that side. But what do they need to do, and what can they do to try to slow down the Twins and maybe pull this one out in Control?
I mean, That's really just the question of the hour right now. That's what they have to figure out. I mean, we could sit here and discuss it all day, but they're obviously not watching the stream right now. They're too busy trying to play and get a dub on the board right now.
Their mistake.
I mean, I'm saying, man, if only. But I mean, we don't roll like that. Obviously, we can't have on-site coaching or anything to play this out. Otherwise, a lot of teams' whole situation would probably be a lot different. But
Yeah.
when it really breaks it down, I mean, these guys, when you go into Garrison, I mean, at this point, maybe when you're facing the likes of another team, maybe consider these map picks a little bit more. I mean, you guys have done great in terms of finding ways of positioning yourself, but you got to learn to adapt, and that's their biggest deal and need to figure out how to adapt, how to play around the other team, how to take a little break, a step back for a round or in between those rounds and say, okay, gather up in their circle like you do on the sandlot and say, this is what they're doing. Let's go for here. Let's go for here. Play around it a bit. Let's just sit there and calm down because if you're rushing out, you're sitting there saying, let's try something else. Your whole team hasn't communicated and said, all right, well, then if this is what we're going to go for, I'm going to go for here. I'm going to have eyes on you, but I'm also going to be able to bench out towards here, this, that, and the other. You don't get those kind of plays when you just sit there and throw them down on the spot because you don't have that team synergy like LU does right now. So, I mean, that's what BU's got to do. They got to sit back, take some steps, take some time, and as you love referring to, go to that drawing board and they better make one heck of a picture right now if they want to figure out what's going to go down.
Got to start drawing something, and I really think you just nailed it right on the head there. It's got to come as a collective. You can't make the individual plays right now. That's been proven in these first two maps that LU have the gun skill in their pocket. Like, that's not going to work out for you if you're BU. It has to come as a team. Can we get the trades? Can we communicate better? Because you're not going to beat them one-on-one. That's what we've been proven here. I mean, the Twins are just, yeah, they're different right now. These guys, it's like Arcides and Alec to make a somewhat of a comparison. There's plenty of Twins throughout the esports, the scene in the community, but like these guys are just locked in right now. You can see it in the search and destroy. Some of the plays they're making, the IQ is there. Let's rotate around. Let's pinch. Unexpected stuff on the side of Brock. And I think really something has to change here. You have to flip some kind of switch, a wake-up call of some sort. Someone in the comms needs to step up and say, look, guys, we can still do this. It's not over just yet, but it's got to start to happen all together. It can't just be one of us trying to make big-time plays. And I think as well, we got to be looking for K1 and K2 on the map. If we can get those two players down, that might be our opportunity to move forward to try to set up more of a hold.
Yeah, and we're talking on an individual basis and these guys stepping up and somebody come to the cut and make sure to, establish themselves. I mean, I don't want to call anybody out, but just kidding. Yes, I do. If it really comes down to it, it's got to be records. I mean, when you sit there and check out records, it's not a brand or anything. It's just what his stats are. The dude's double positive on every single mode. I mean, he is no joke when it comes down to this. I know Chugs is their captain, but I mean, a lot of teams have different responsibilities. I know these pro teams have their captain, then they have their in-game lead and mascot and things to just rally the guys together. Records needs to do that right now, or Chugs needs to, or even one of these bottom tier guys, somebody, as you said, needs to step up. I would like for it to be Records to say, just follow around my lead. I'm obviously playing. I'm trying my hardest here, and I pulled out a round or two for us to try to maintain what we can. But I can't do this alone, guys. We got to play together. Otherwise, this isn't going to work. And, Chugs needs to back him up, say, yeah, you know what? I'm with you. Let's get this going. Let's get this rolling. Let's find a way to pull this out because that's what they need to do right now. Because otherwise, I mean, when you're looking at Kool-Aid and when you're looking at Fang and Cool Tux and just everybody else over the whole roster, they need a point man. And just I don't feel like they have a finger directing them just yet. And it just feels like organized chaos instead of chaos but organized. It's weird this word, but overall, I feel like right now the word chaos, I mean, LU Esports is bringing it to the floor over on B side.
They have managed it much better so far in this series. We'll see if Brock can turn things around. I like what you say there. Records has been carrying the brunt of the load so far for BU. Who can step up to provide some support as the capture at B is already seeing 2 ticks of progress for LU. Abito still on the point, trying to hold things down in lights. The shots onto Cool Tux are going to connect. He's 3-0 to start, and he's got his team this first point. Now they can turn their focus to A. Very early into this round, you're able to capture B. You still have 2 minutes to work with. Got the lives in your advantage, and you have some map control. Not looking good off the rip for Brock, but Records in the vent is slowing things down. Kool-Aid finds one on the hill. All of a sudden, a little bit of life here for BU.
Yeah, and I got to say, I'm wrong. As terrible as it sounds, I know as casters got to stay neutral, and I had my moments last game and during those last kind of match where I was rooting for one side or the other. But right now, I'm really hoping BU Red can pull something out right here because, I mean, I would love for this to go to map 4, map 5, and show that, I mean, they're in this position for a reason. But right now, we're not seeing too much of that spotlight on them. And we can't have enough to work with to actually talk about them and maintain and, give them the glory they deserve for making it this far. So at this point, but right now, Cool Tux is doing a great job, and so is Records of actually, maintaining themselves, finally stepping up and saying, all right, boys, this is Control, this is Garrison. We have a little bit more room to play around with. We don't have all these up and down, play and control, King of the Hill kind of deals to be playing with. Let's just get these kills, hold these points. Defense is easy. If we win this, we got something to work with.
Yeah, it really is the change of pace that a lot of players need. As you see Obito finding the 6 kill streak, he's going to have an artillery to play with. Maybe a chance for a cruise in from behind. He's going to get the 7th. That's a cruise missile in the pocket as well for Obito. And although you haven't had any progress on A just yet, you're dwindling down the life count for BU. You still have map control. With Obito holding down the spawns, you should find a window to get onto the point here at some time. I mean, this guy is just absolutely a beast in the backside. 8-0 to start this map. Finally getting onto the point is his team. And if you can't get through Obito, you're not going to make it to the point.
Yeah, and I feel like these guys need they need an awakening of their Sharingan themselves. They got to be able to look into the future somehow and find a way of how to cut these guys off somehow because, I mean, they're not getting any of these calls ahead of time. They're not being set up, and anything they do try and set up, it just gets shut down because they don't feel like it's organized well enough for them to find a way to maintain. I mean, even right then, they have them locked out, and you got 3 guys. I mean, even just if it's nothing, just rush in there. Y'all can't be that scared of one man. I mean, I get it. He's been popping off all game, but goodness gracious, he's mortal. I mean, at this point, Brock just has to step up somehow. I mean, and they just kind of threw away defense in this case. And once you get to offense, it doesn't get any easier from here.
More and more, it's starting to show how the tone has been set by LU throughout this entire series. It's really BU playing to their speed, which is never what you want to do in Call of Duty. 9-1 for Obito to start in that first round. They grab it on offense, the more difficult of the two sides. He's got those streaks to work with as well. 7 objective kills is definitely going to help, and you're right. Got to turn things around if you're Brock. You're looking at Kool-Aid 2-7, Chugs 1-4. Don't want to have a lot of deaths just as much as you want to try to find more kills, but you go over to offense. You're trying to probably grab B first. Instead, it's going to be the push to A. A tick already through. Nobody home on defense to make something happen. Obito's going to be the one pinching from the backside. He finds 1 kill, but Kool-Aid's there for the trade. This is a great start for BU. Looks like they're going to grab A.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what they want right there. They're finally finding this synergy, and they're finding their stride right here. With such a strong start right there, they have plenty of time to work with. They just need to play into lives right now. I mean, they got 2 minutes. You know that LU, they love getting these kills. You know they're pretty darn sure they can get them and close this out. So let them run to you for a little bit. Let them sit there and think they're going to lock you in their spawns. Kind of wait it out once they want to play the aggressor. Get those 2 picks on K1, K2, and then start making your move because you know that Doom and Obito, they may be there to wait for you, but if you have a 2-on-1 kind of engagement right there, heck, even a 3-on-1, you're more likely of getting that win right there and finding a way to find yourself on that B site with how close it is and closing it out.
Plenty of time to work with if you're Brock University, but all of a sudden this spawn trap coming through from the side of Laurentian. It's not making it easier. This is the last thing he wanted to see. Doomy with a 2-piece as the players come off spawn. Record's finally going to find that kill. Obito's going to use the streakster early, but the spawn protection helps there for Brock. They're not going to fall to the cruise missile. It's still an opportunity to try to break out, but the lives are dwindling down to 13. Make it 12 now as more kills coming through. The Kilgannon brothers are pushing up, and that's just going to... This is like your worst nightmare if you're Brock right now.
I mean, yeah, it's really is. Not only have you just been kind of shut down over the whole course of the series today, now you're in this last leg where you finally get some kind of hope after recovering A, and then Ellie's just like, just kidding, we're gonna spawn trap you. It's just, it's devastating to see, and just, I could be in those same shoes and just think of how these guys are feeling right now. I mean, look at Records. He just stood there and spawned for a second and said, all right, let's just calm down. But, I mean, when you really get it together, I mean, these guys are kind of making a split push on, up and forth. Kool-Aid finally getting a pick right there. But if that didn't go his way, I feel like it was going to be right back to square one. And these guys got to do something somewhere. And with B being the next point that's available for the taking, They should be able to get on this site and at least stall the clock for a little bit.
2 lives left here for Brock, and they're trying to make something happen. Records will be the final one standing. He falls as well. So after grabbing A to start, it looked like there was a glimmer of hope for Brock in that round. But all of a sudden, the spawn trap gets sprung. You got Kilgan in here in the kill cam. He's picking up 2, probably 3, maybe even 4. Your worst nightmare, really, as you see these players in blue start to force the emphasis towards your spawns. You're getting shot before you can even open your eyes, and
Yeah.
it just goes to show how oftentimes control really can be very one-sided once you get that spawn trap going. See the damage numbers. Records, like you mentioned, was the player who's really been showing out so far for Brock. 2,500 damage, but needs somebody to step up to give him some more support. Chug's down there at 3 and 11, and I mean, even if you aren't going to have a lot of kills, the least you could do is try not to die so much. I know easier said than done, but control is when the more deaths, it's only hurting your team.
I mean, at that point, hell, let's sit there. Everybody sit and spawn, go out there by himself. Give the man more lives to work with if he's going to make the most of them. I mean, that's kind of what you're working at right there. You need to sit there and give these guys who are sitting there taking the spotlight, finding a way to make things work, and just let them play the game. Because, I mean, if you're going to get shut out, you're not doing nobody any good. If you're all locked in spawn, none of you are able to play the game, and even your star players locked out. I mean, it's like putting Tom Brady on a field with a bunch of kindergartners. I mean, he can't do anything with that. So, I mean, overall, it's just like, goodness gracious, dude. I'm really hoping these guys can sit there and hold down this point a little bit. They're obviously going to get a little bit of A points back here. Dwindle down that objective a little bit as much as they can. But the fact that they already have a tick over there, it's just insane. The fact they've already swarmed B and took that by control. I can't sit there and find a single player to target on the side of LU right now because they're all so high up, whether it's double digits. I mean, obviously, it's nice to see, you know, single digit in kills and a double digit in deaths, but the only time we're seeing that is over on Brock right now.
It's a walk in the park right now for Laurentian. You mentioned Tom Brady and how if you don't give him some support, what might happen? Well, we saw that in the most latest offseason, heading down to Tampa Bay. He said, screw it, I'm just going to leave the Patriots if they're not going to get me some weapons to throw to. Maybe that's a situation for Records here soon. You have to hope not. As Chug's down to 3 and 15, it just hasn't been his map or his night so far. And that can be the case in Call of Duty. You just get on some days and the shot isn't there. K1, that's not been that kind of day for him. He's 23 and 8, the 4 kill streak because he's still in the spawns. No, don't do that.
Oh my God.
3 in a row to make it a 6 kill streak. And at this point, just pouring it on is Laurentian are going to close it out 3-0. They are in the control. They win the series overall 3-0 as well. And it really wasn't too difficult for them. Everything on display tonight. The Twins were really putting on everything, and you see it in the kill cam here. Kilgan in 1. This probably shouldn't happen.
Yeah, under no circumstances this level of competition is accepted. I mean, I know I'm sounding like a disappointed parent right now, but I mean, goodness gracious, when you come to this kind of stage in the league where you're actually getting these winning records, you have to sit there. This shows at this stage in the competition, you may have been winning up to this point, but these are where you start facing the Titans. You need to sit there and start looking at these VOD reviews. You need to figure out, not even if you're winning, you need to start finding things to work with even when you're winning, because you're never going to be perfect when it comes to playing games. There's always something to work on. And I mean, obviously, in these few losses that they've had so far, they have plenty of film to work with, and they need to go into these scrims. And even if they lose in public lobbies, who cares? Those kids aren't competing that you're facing against in those lobbies. You are. You're working on something. You're ironing out your strats. You're ironing out your communication, whether it's even with your sub and your coach. You have all that information right there at your disposal to help you better become a team. So whenever you do get thrown back in next week against another Titan, because trust me, it's not going to be easier from this point. It's going to help you overall, and that's what you need. Take the L's every other day of the week. But if you come in on Monday and Tuesday and bring your best freaking game and put your best foot forward, who cares what goes on the rest of these weeks? We're not streaming then.
Yeah, a learning moment for Brock as they fall 3-0. Really great stuff out of Laurentian. It didn't really feel like there was a whole lot to stress about as the Twins had their kind of night. They will move to 9-3 now on the season. Brock will fall to 7-5. And for Laurentian, it moves them up a little bit in the standings. They're going to go up to that 7th spot. A better opportunity to get a better seeding once we get into playoff time. But that's going to do it here for the second match. We'll say goodbye to Mick here as he retires for the night, but he'll definitely be back next week. So don't expect him to be gone for too long. But it was a great time having you on the desk, Mick.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
take a
It's been a
quick break
pleasure.
here. Yeah, we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, more Call of Duty action. As in the third match, it'll be Liberty Red versus UTK Orange. Myself and Morgan Dunn will be back to give you that one. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.